In 1712, Johann Bessler built a wheel in Germany that spun on its own for hours. No hands, no visible power source. A nobleman sealed it in a locked room and came back weeks later. Still spinning. Scientists tried to figure out how. Bessler never told them. Then he smashed it himself before anyone could prove it. Nobody knows exactly what was inside, but we know with total certainty why it couldn't have run forever. Bessler wasn't the first person to chase this idea, and he wouldn't be the last. For over 1,000 years, some of the most brilliant minds in human history have tried to build a machine that runs forever on its own, producing energy from nothing. Kings funded it, universities studied it, fortunes were spent chasing it, and every single attempt without exception has failed, not because the investors weren't clever enough, because the universe has a rule that makes it impossible. A rule so absolute that breaking it would mean rewriting physics itself. Let's go back further than Bessler. In the 12th century, an Indian mathematician and astronomer named Bhaskara II described a wheel with curved, mercury-filled spokes. His idea was the mercury would always be heavier on one side as the wheel turned, keeping it perpetually off balance, and therefore perpetually spinning. It's an elegant idea on paper. It's also completely wrong. The wheel reaches equilibrium and stops every time because the mercury redistributes symmetrically as it turns. Then came the case that might be the most audacious scientific fraud in American history: Johann Ernst Worrell Keely. In the 1870s, Keely announced he would discover a new force in the universe, something he called etheric force, capable of powering machines with almost no input at all. He built a company. He raised the equivalent of tens of millions of dollars in today's money from investors, including some of the wealthiest people in Philadelphia. He gave public demonstrations where his machines appeared to run on nothing, humming and vibrating with no visible energy source. For over 20 years, Keely kept investors funding his research, promising that mass production was just around the corner. He wasn't some French con man working alone in basement. He had a laboratory, a staff, a board of investors, and enough credibility that his death actually threatened the finances of everyone who bought into his company. After Keely died in 1898, investigators searched his laboratory. Underneath the floor, they found the answer: a hidden system of compressed air tubes and pneumatic machinery running through the walls and floorboards, silently powering his devices from another room. There was no new force, there was a hose. Keely had built an elaborate hoax and sustained it for over 2 decades, one of the longest running scientific frauds in history, and he did it not with revolutionary physics, but with plumbing and patience. You would think a case like Keely would have ended the dream permanently. It didn't. It never does, because the fantasy of free, unlimited energy is too seductive to abandon, even after every single attempt has failed. Today, the same idea just wears a different costume. In the early 2000s, a man named Michael Brady founded a company called Perendev, claiming he would build a motor powered entirely by permanent magnets, no batteries, no fuel, just magnetic force pushing itself forever. He took orders from customers across multiple countries, collected deposits and claimed purchase agreements worth over €1 billion. The European Patent Office rejected his patent application. The motor was never independently verified to work. In 2010, German police arrested Brady and court convicted him of fraud in 36 separate cases. There was no new magnetic principle. There was a company taking deposits for a machine that was never going to run. patent office around the world, including the US Patent and Trademark Office, have a long-standing policy. They will not grant a patent for a perpetual motion machine without a working model demonstrated in person, because they have been burned by cases exactly like this one so many times that the office now treats the entire category with default skepticism. So why this is actually impossible? Not hasn't been figured out yet. Impossible. Actually, permanently impossible. The answer is two rules, and they are not really about machines at all, they are about energy itself. So, the first rule is the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted from one form to another. A machine can't produce more energy than you put into it, because there is no extra energy sitting around waiting to be summoned. Every joule that comes out of system has to be accounted for by a joule that went in. A wheel that runs forever while also doing useful work like lifting weights or generating electricity will be creating energy out of nothing every single second it operates. Nothing in the universe does that. Nothing ever has. Every generator, every engine, every power plant on Earth does the exact same thing. It converts one kind of energy, chemical, nuclear, gravitational, into energy kind electrical or mechanical. None of them create energy, they just move it around. But here's the part that actually kills perpetual motion for good. The part most people don't know even exists, the second law of the thermodynamics. Even if you build a perfectly frictionless, perfectly sealed system that never did any external work, just spinning for the sake of spinning, it would still lose energy over time. The second law says that in any real system, some amount of usable energy is always lost as a heat. Due to entropy, the natural tendency of energy to spread out and become less organized. Friction in bearings, air resistance, electrical resistance, sound vibration. It doesn't matter how advanced the engineering is. Some tiny fraction of energy always leaks out as unusable heat, and that leak never stops. There is no material, no design, no clever configuration of magnets or mercury or gears that gets around this. It's not a limitation of current technology, it's a description of how energy behaves at the most fundamental level of physics has ever measured. This is why engineers actually classify perpetual motion machines into two categories, and it's worth knowing the difference. A perpetual motion machine of the first kind is one that violates the first law, producing more energy than it consumes. A perpetual motion machine of the second kind is more subtle. It doesn't create energy from nothing, it just claims to run forever with perfect efficiency, no losses at all. That sounds more modest, almost believable. It's still impossible because it would require zero entropy increase in a universe where entropy increase is not optional. Every scientific body that has ever formally investigated a perpetual motion claim going back over a century has ultimately traced the failure back to one of these two laws. Not once has an exception been found. So why do smart people keep falling for it, generation after generation? Partly because a spinning wheel that looks unpowered is genuinely hard to disprove just by watching it. Momentum can carry a heavy wheel for a long time before friction visibly slows it down. Long enough to fool an audience, long enough to attract investors, long enough for a demonstration to end before anyone notices the tiny, constant energy loss happening the entire time, and partially because the idea is just emotionally irresistible. A machine that gives you more than you put in forever for free is the closest thing to magic that still sounds scientific. It's the same instinct that makes people want to believe in ancient lost knowledge or hidden lawful in the rules everyone else is playing by. This is really the most interesting part of the whole story. It's not that nobody has been smart enough to solve perpetual motion. It's that the smartest people who ever tried, mathematicians, engineers, physicists, all eventually run into the same wall, because the wall isn't made of bad design, it's made of actual structure of reality. every attempt across 1,000 years of human history, from a curved mercury wheel in medieval India to hidden air compressor in 19th century Philadelphia to a magnet motor company in 21st century Germany, has failed for the exact same reason. Energy in has to equal energy out, and some of it always leaks away as heat forever, no exceptions. Historians still don't know for certain if Bessler's wheel was a hidden hoax like Keely's, powered by a person hiding in an adjoining room, touring a hidden crank, or something else entirely. But we don't actually need to know the mechanisms to know the outcome. If it ran without any hidden input, it would still have violated the same law that dooms every perpetual motion machine ever built. It's not a mystery of engineering. It's a mathematical certainty, and it was true in 1712 exactly as much as it's true right now. Watching a magnet motor video on your phone. We keep chasing it anyway. Maybe because a universe with a machine that runs forever for free feels more hopeful than the one we actually live in, where everything eventually runs down. But there is something worth sitting with in the real answer too. The fact that energy can be created from nothing is the same fact that makes the sun able to burn for billions of years instead of one. The same law that ends every perpetual motion machine is the law that makes the universe predictable enough to build a bridge, launch a rocket, or trust that the ground will hold you up tomorrow. The universe never gives you something for nothing, but it's remarkably reliably honest about the price, and maybe that's a better deal than free energy ever could have been.